Welcome to the Orion Sportscast Podcast, the most refreshing analysis, insight, and opinions in the world of sports. Here are your hosts, Josh Egan and Brandon Waterhouse.
Okay, we're back. I know we said we would be back Saturday, but the Blue Jays are active. The MLB is active. And since Brandon and I know absolutely nothing about baseball, Tyrus was kind enough to reach out to us and say, you guys know nothing about baseball. Why don't you and explain what's going on? And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a fantastic idea. So after some scheduling conflicts, we got it figured out. So Tyrus, welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you.
How do you know us? What's going on here?
So I know you guys just directly from Humber. I'm a Humber student as well, same program, sport management. But originally I'm from Innisfil, Ontario, so a little bit farther north, about an hour and a half north. Grew up there whole life. Played high-level baseball my whole life in the city. I've been playing national level ball since I was about 13, 14, remember correctly, and just been around the game my whole life. And then I was going through recruiting process with my team. Actually had quite a few offers in the States. And then the whole kind of Trump thing started happening and things like that. So I ended up, Humber kind of came in, coach emailed me, came to a couple of my games and got recruited to Humber. So that's kind of how I ended up at Humber. Long story short.
I'm just gonna ask the personal side of it, of how you, I'll let you go in, but you just told us that's how you got recruited here to Humber. So.
Yeah. So it was a cool, the coach came out in my game and talked to my parents, whatever. And then I spoke to them after the game, brought me on like an official visit to campus during the summer. So it's kind of cool. Nobody was there. Got to meet Rick and Ashwin, our program coordinators, you guys know, before I was even in the program, which is cool because he knew I was interested in that. So I got to sit down with them, have a nice chat. And then after that visit, it felt awesome. Like it was like, feels at home. It kind of felt right. Team was really good. We had really good team, really competitive team.
What do you play? What's your position?
Yeah, I'm a catcher actually. So
right.
Catcher.
I think you told me that for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good. It's we have a really good squad. So we're looking on up.
So, we're all sports management students. Josh, as I know you might have, we're about to hop in there. We all have our sports too. I think I'll be honest here. Hockey's for Josh. Not that I'm a basketball expert by any means, but it's what I watch the most. And we have our baseball guy. I think it's important when you're trying to be a student in a sports management is not to diversify so much that you just focus on one sport, because then you kind of limit your options to
exactly
what your path should be. So we're super happy to have you here, and we want to know more about how much of an insider you are with the Jays stuff going on, and where do you get your news from, and why do you think that the Jays are going to make one more or two more moves?
Yeah, so where I get my knowledge from is either A, general, A, TV, like everybody else, but I actually follow a bunch of MLB insiders, Blue Jays insiders that maybe people don't know about through like either social media apps like Instagram, things like that. But there's also like blogs and things online that people don't know about, where you can kind of get a head start on rumors and things that are swirling around before the general public gets to know them. So that's kind of where my general knowledge comes from, and just aside from the passion of the game as well. But yeah, I think the Jays, they're good. They're going for it. I think there's a couple more moves they're guaranteed to make, in my opinion. They have to, just the way the squad is shaping up.
So first of all, I'll let you go, but I want to get the initial reaction out of you and Josh. I know Josh knows like 2 inches more of baseball than I do, but is this on a scale of A, B, C, D minus maybe, what's this George Springer deal like?
I can answer that one because I've seen it on Twitter. It's an it's an A+ for the Jays. I think I got that one right.
Okay, so
what about slightly disagree with you on that, Josh? But
I'm already wrong.
I would go with an A-, just because we just had to pay a premium for George Springer. They had not many people want to play in Toronto because there's things like taxes that people don't think, right? They have to relocate their families to Toronto. That's a big deal, right? The border issues, whatever. So they had to pay a premium for George Springer. They had to go more years than they wanted originally. They wanted a 4 to 5 year deal. And they're looking to $120 to $125 million range. And, that ended up with about a $150 million deal and some incentives or whatever. So they had to pay a premium to get him, but, they have the salary cap to do it. And I think they made the right move end up paying the premium, because if you look at the lineup now, it's just stacked from 1 through 9, in my opinion. It's one of the better offensive lineups in the league, in my opinion. So
what does he bring to the other side of the ball? What does George keep going on his batting, but what does George bring to the other side of the ball? Defense.
Oh, defensively, I'd go with top 5, probably defensive outfielder, defensive center fielder in the league. He's not going to be the most speediest outfielder you're going to see in center field. But his reactions, his routes to balls, they're super efficient. If you take a look at certain metrics, right, like route efficiency and things like that, he's one of the tops in the league.
Good.
And I think he brings a real good veteran presence. He's been around the league for a while in that center field. He solidifies that, right? Where Randall Grichuk wasn't really a center fielder before. So he's going to help guys like Lourdes Gurriel Jr. in left field and Teoscar in right field. It's just going to make them a much better outfielder altogether, cohesively, right?
Now, I don't want to, Josh, before you hop in, I want to ask one more thing. That was great that you mentioned the young guys of the Blue Jays. I don't know much about George Springer. I don't even know much about his age, but he's won, maybe twice even. Just once or twice. Yeah, twice. What does he bring in terms of veteran? Has he ever been a veteran? Do people look up to him? Yeah,
so it was actually an interesting question. I was reading an article yesterday, and I believe John Morosi is another MLB insider, released this, but he's they say he's one of the most liked clubhouse guys in the league. Guys just gravitate towards him. He's always there to apparently help younger guys and really help them kind of develop into their next game, right, and become those elite players like a Bo Bichette, turn him to an elite player, right? Those Kevin Biggio's, turn him to an elite player, make that next step. So I think he really brings a calming presence in that clubhouse, right? He's been there. He knows what it takes, although there is an asterisk beside their World Series win, cheating or whatever, but he's been there. He knows what it takes. He knows the environment regardless, right? And even with that whole cheating scandal, the next year when that all came out, he was one of the few guys that still put up good numbers on that Astros team, right? You had guys like Altuve and whatever had down years, and George Springer still had his regular year.
Good.
So I think it's a good sign, right?
Right. So I'm just going to go off baseball 1 second. Tyrus, do you watch Tim and Sid?
I do. I usually don't miss an episode every day at 5 at 5.
Oh, shit!
Okay. So it was just announced. We got breaking news here. Sid Seixeiro will be leaving Tim and Sid. He is going to be joining Breakfast Television. Tim McCaff will continue to host the show by himself for now. So Sid Seixeiro is leaving Tim and Sid. This is extremely creepy because I don't know if you caught this. I literally went on about a 5-minute rant the other day about how Sid is the biggest idiot in Toronto media. So
we're stitching this, as they say. We're clipping that together.
Yeah. So we'll get back to baseball. I just wanted to bring that up in case you knew who they were.
Oh, I did not know that.
That just happened while we were filming, I think.
Yeah, it literally just happened like 2 seconds ago. That's why I was looking down at my phone. So yeah, Sid Seixeiro leaving Tim and Sid. So maybe they can get
That's sad to see.
Instead of Tim and Sid, we can get Josh and Brandon on Sportsnet. Maybe actually.
Yeah, hey, you never know, man.
You never know. All right, so let's get back to back to baseball. And you brought up the Houston Astros scandal. That to me is one of the most fascinating things to happen in sports in the last 50 to 60 years. Like
probably modern era.
Yeah,
modern era for sure.
You're a baseball player. I played baseball once when I was 10, so I'm not going to say I'm a baseball player. But what was your initial reaction to that? Like as a high level baseball player, like were you mad about it? Were you thinking, well, they got to like what went through your mind? Because as someone who just watches the sport, I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of shitty of them. But
honestly, I was on both sides of the fence. I was mad. I was upset. I was like, come on, you guys are a professional organization, and that's kind of how you want to run things. But in another sense, I came from a player's side too, where there's ways inside the game that stuff like that happens that what could be considered cheating, like picking up signs. Right. If, for an example, you got a guy on second base, usually the runner is checking in on the catcher to see what he's putting down. And if he starts to make there's a pattern, right? Then you start sending signals from second base to the batter, and then you kind of know roughly what pitch is coming, off speed, fastball, right? So things like that are always happening in the game. So I was like, it's not understandable what they did. Because the degree of what happened and the fact they used technology and it came from like upper management. There's reports that they knew about it and let it go on. That's what rubbed me the wrong way, is how in depth and how much time they took into.
That's funny. Now that you brought that up, I
and formulating that.
It wasn't just the trash cans that was banging. I remember the big picture of
No.
It might have been Altuve actually. He was coming down and he's trying to hide his wire.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
Or the wire, whatever, right? So I was kind of
Exactly.
forgetting the whole time. It's remembered as the trash bin scandal, but it kind of went a couple of different levels, no?
Yeah, and that's the thing that a lot of people kind of forget about, because it was the trash can that caught all the media's attention, right?
Multiple trash cans, yes.
Right. So you got things like those buzzers, right? So for example, you have a buzzer on one side, buzzer on the other. Whatever one goes off speed, fastball. Whatever,
Oh, wow.
Right? So you kind of know. So, and that's what really kind of separates it for me, is where it's like,
Yeah, that's
you're really going into depth. Like you're not just trying to pick up on other teams.
It's not it's not the equipment guy accidentally banging into the trash can in the fifth row of the bleacher seats.
Right.
You got the ET guy from the Bell Internet, and he's connected up a whole hotspot on Altuve.
Well, it's like,
yeah, exactly.
There's a difference between having a runner on second steal signs and strapping a Dr. Ho machine to yourself.
That's so true. Yeah, I could have been
Shout out Dr. Ho.
I think that's what the difference is. Let's head back to the Jays. I just wanted to get your opinion. We're kind of all over the place here, Tim and Sid.
Well, you know what? It has a big deal to do with it, because even I'll say with Sportsnet, like where Tim and Sid come, I think they released the warning. It was like a warning graphic. Like, do Blue Jays fans, are they warned about the scandal that he's brought to his career, or does this affect how the fans in Canada will view him? So it's not that, not talking about the Jays because of the Astros, but it's pretty important, I think, to the way we're going off. And speaking of the Astros, right, Brantley.
You stole my fucking transition.
You know what, Josh? You took 18 years to get there. So I tell you what, I grew a whole new mustache.
It's called suspense.
What fell through there? What fell through? I was sending that right away. I was like, holy shit, we're getting the whole squad over here from Houston. I didn't know much about it, but obviously Champions was kind of exciting. So obviously I fell through.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, so reports are saying now that what really happened is the Jays were held up on the deal with Brantley before they could sign the dotted line, finalize that. A trade had to go through and be finalized with what we're assuming would be an outfielder to not only clear up space on the roster, but to clear up space for him to play, right? If you just signed Michael Brantley, we'll say, and you kept the team as it is, and there's no trade, you got now Randall Grichuk, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Teoscar Hernandez, George Springer, and Jonathan Davis.
So that would,
and then a couple other minor league guys, right?
So
that are in the mix.
That would probably be Hernandez on the way out, right? If they signed him.
Well, here's the kind of the funny thing is everyone kind of went straight to Hernandez or Randall Grichuk, because Randall Grichuk kind of the odd guy out there. He's going to play center field. George Springer's going to play center field, right? But a lot of teams are interested in Lourdes Gurriel Jr. because he had a super team-friendly contract, right? He's making pennies for what he is, right? He had over 300 in a shortened season. I'll give that, but he had over 300 last year. He's a good defender. He's young. He's still got lots of potential, right? So that was kind of the trade bait I was getting from the field around the market, right? That was kind of where they're shopping Gurriel, which was kind of shocking to me because as a Jays fan, that's a guy I want to keep on to. Like he's kind of the future with this core, right? So, and that's what was kind of holding up on the Brantley deal. I don't think the Jays got a deal that realistically made sense for them to like it didn't make sense for them to trade Gurriel or Grichuk to sign Brantley. They weren't getting in return what they thought they were valued at.
Right. I feel for like it came through and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like I'm not a diehard Jays fan, but they're in Toronto, so we're like, oh yeah, go Jays, awesome. But
yeah,
like I was a diehard Jays fan when they were winning, so but now they're kind of not up there. So you see this deal come through, and I think I read the tweet from Hazel May, who she's in with the team, so she was like, oh yeah, the Leafs have not the Leafs, the Blue Jays have signed Michael Brantley. The Blue Jays have signed Michael Brantley. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, that's a big deal. And then fell through. So
what is it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What's next? Like, who's the next big signing?
What's the next?
There's a couple out there.
So if I think the Jays are going to go in the direction I think they're going to go, obviously we all want them to get Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer is the biggest name on the market still. Everyone knows what he brings to a team. But I honestly think the Jays are going to go the more cheaper route, the more projectile route, and they might sign a guy like Charlie Morton or Jake Odorizzi, right? Those guys that they bring a veteran presence to the staff. They've kind of proven themselves. They can get them at a lower price than something like a Trevor Bauer would. He'll eat up innings. Those guys will eat up innings for you. But he could also look like they might bring back a guy like Taijuan Walker. That's a free agent that was really good down the stretch for the Jays when they picked him up in the season. Even in like that playoff push, he was awesome for us. He's one of our better arms. So if I had to guess, and if just kind of what I'm reading, it would be Taijuan Walker, Jake Odorizzi, Charlie Morton would be the starters they're looking at. They've also been linked to Brad Hand. I don't know how much traction
what kind of as a Blue Jays fan or as a Blue Jays reporter scout, what kind of positions do the Jays need to fill? Because I heard that although Springer, great addition, didn't fill a void that they were looking for.
Right. You could make that argument, right? Because we already had a solid outfield. But the Jays it's obvious they need to fix their bullpen. They have some clear holes there, and they do need to fix some glaring holes in the starting rotation, right? You got guys like Tanner Roark, Trent Thornton that are at the end of the day just not great big league arms, and they're not going to win you a championship at the end of the day, right? So it's got to come to pitching now. Pitching and defense, Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro, they're huge on run prevention, right? They don't say better pitching, they say run prevention, and that can come from pitching and higher defensive percentage, right? Higher fielding percentage. So the Jays were one of the worst teams in the league last year defensively. So they're looking to obviously improve that.
So
wait, Brandon, I got to bring this up because you mentioned Tanner Roark, and Tanner Roark is related. You're already laughing. I think you know what I'm going to say. Tanner Roark is related to one of the best hot mic moments in sports, where Keith Hernandez was caught saying something. Do you know what that is, or do I need to say it?
I think you got to say, I don't know.
They just came back from commercial, and the hot mic, because obviously they don't turn it off for the broadcasters. You just hear Keith Hernandez say, "Wow, Roark's really getting his tits lit tonight." But the best reaction was the other commentator was just like, "Yep." So whenever I see Roark on the mound, I just can't take him seriously. But yeah, what is your? Because when I think of Atkins and Shapiro, I think of I don't know what to think. Like they don't really have an identity to me as a casual fan. Like,
right,
what's their approach? Like, what am I thinking of when I see what they're doing? What am I thinking of? Because I look at teams around, like if I use other teams in Toronto, if I look at Masai, I know he's not the GM, but if I look at Masai, it's like he's aggressive, he's out there. If I look at Kyle Dubas, he's calculated and he knows what he's doing. If I look at Digit Murphy over with the Toronto Six, she's aggressive and looking for a team that wants to compete. When I look at the Blue Jays, I'm like, I don't know what they're trying to do. So what are the Jays trying to do in the long term?
Right. Baseball is one of those sports where it's not like many others in the form of managing and things like that, right? It's a system. And Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins have implemented this system that they used in Cleveland. Mark Shapiro used it a ton in Cleveland. basically, as best as I can explain, it's like a revolving door, right? And it takes time. Baseball, you can't. It can't be like basketball where you can go sign those two guys and go win a championship with Katie and Kyrie, right? Baseball, it's time. You got to develop guys and bring them up, and then you add a guy like that in a free agency, right? It's just how it works. So they implement a system, right? And that's where you see the Jays, they were so bad for over those 5 years, right? Right after that kind of Batista era, it was bad. But during that time, they were.
Let me jump in there. I want to give credit to the fact that maybe not 2 years ago, but this past year they finally let their young ones blossom, which I think it was a huge drawing factor to maybe not Springer but other free agencies. Is like, okay, well, these guys have a little bit more promise now. I remember I was pretty upset because not that I knew much about baseball, but 2 or 3 years ago when Guerrero and Bichette came onto the scene, I felt like Shapiro, right? Is that the name of the guy?
Shapiro,
yeah.
Shapiro, yeah. See, so I just felt like the management was holding them down, and I always would hear that next year, next month. And so I think that, due to the fact that they obviously weren't playing well, it's not really effective to go out and spend money and not, lose your prospects, who are actually some of the best prospects, I think, in baseball overall, not just, highly sought after Toronto baseball prospects. These guys can be really impactful.
Yeah, he hit the nail on the head there. And that's kind of the system they're implementing, right? And creating a farm system that is like a revolving door, and they're continuing to bring those blue chip prospects up to the big leagues every 5 years, right? So it's when those Bichette and Biggios are getting ready to retire or move on from a contract, that next wave is coming, and you're seeing that in the Jays with a Jordan Crochan's and Austin Martin. Like those are those next names you got to be aware of.
Here you go.
So that's kind of the approach Shapiro and Atkins had. They get a lot of heat on it, but it's to create a dynasty. It's to be like the Cardinals, the St. Louis Cardinals, and to be like the Yankees, where they're good every year, right? And you're seeing that. And I think you will see this from now going forward. The Jays will be 500 better for the better part of the decade for sure. It's going to be a revolving door. Guys are now going to want to play here, right? That's how their system is. They get a lot of flack over it, but in the long run, it's more projectable, right?
And it sounds like they're getting a new stadium soon too, so that'll help.
Oh, that's a whole nother
Potentially.
take.
Yeah. Okay,
so you mentioned, fine, go.
I was gonna say one last baseball thing, and then I want to get your opinion on some other sports, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Who are we looking for this year? So let's go. Let's say top 4 teams. Top 4 teams we're gonna have the last 4 in the competing for a World Series. So if I was to give you $20 and say pick 4 teams to make the World Series, who are you picking?
I'm gonna go the Padres for sure, with the additions to Yu Darvish and Blake Snell, that already great pitching staff.
Yeah.
And you got guys like Fernando Tatis and Eric Hosmer on that team. Like, it's ridiculous, right? I think they're there, and if not, anything less is a disappointment, honestly. I think, honestly, the Dodgers will be right back there again. You get Mookie Betts for that full year again, and it's only going to make that clubhouse better. Even if they do lose Justin Turner, I think they still have good young pieces they're going to come up there and perform at the big league level right away. If we move over to the AL side, this is where it gets tricky, right? If I had to give my guess, I think the Yankees are finally going to break out. If they add 1 or 2 arms, right? If they can somehow bring in a Trevor Bauer and a Jake Odorizzi, that offense is scary. They're going to put up 5 to 7 runs every game without a doubt, especially in that small ballpark. So if they can get any sort of stable pitching, they're there, in my opinion. And if I had to go, I like the Twins, man. I like the Twins. They're that lineup. They hit a lot of home runs. They're scary, and that their bullpen's good. Their defense is really good. They have Byron Buxton, which creates a whole other element. He's the fastest guy in the league, arguably. They just have so many elements of the game covered. They're really good.
Okay. Thank you for those answers. Now, Josh, I know he is going to word it a little bit differently, but I just want to give a warning that this is almost like you're the author to like 101 dumb questions to ask a baseball player. So, Josh, take it away.
In the long run, if you were to build a team, what would you build it around? Pitching or batting? Like, what is more important?
Pitching wins you games.
Okay.
All right.
Seems pretty clear cut, and for us to think that it was going to be negotiable is obviously where we fell short. So I think, can you tell us more?
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to jump because you said pitching wins you games, but like pitching doesn't get you points. It prevents. So just pitch, like you can't win a game with pitching, but you could lose a game with pitching. Is that kind of the mentality?
Right. If I have a Tanner Roark pitching for me every game, giving up 5 to 6 runs, how does the mentality of your offense having to always play catch up feel? It's daunting. It's draining. It's like having a sack on your back. Like, oh, here we go again, right? And pitch, you need to get 1 run and you have a Trevor Bauer on the mound, you're more than likely to win that game, right? And pitching is harder to develop than hitting. You can teach hitting 3 ways from Sunday. You can take a guy from the Dominican that's played in the street and teach him hitting with a hitting coach, right? Like pitching, it's a lot longer of a process. It's a lot harder, and it's hard to find a guy that throws in the upper 90s with a high spin rate that's effective and that can command the zone, right? So at the end of the day, that's if I had to build a team, that's where I'd surround it around.
All right. Okay. Obviously, this weekend, this is gonna be the worst transition ever, but whatever. We have the conference finals for the NFL. Who are you liking for the Super Bowl?
Oh man.
So we got Bills, Chiefs, and then Packers, Buccaneers.
I don't think the Bills get past the Chiefs if.
All right, we gotta go. Don't. We gotta go. I'll talk to you later.
No.
Yeah, I just think the Chiefs are just too good. As great as the Bills season is, I'm gonna go Chiefs and Packers in the finals.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go. I want to see Aaron Rodgers win. I'm gonna go Packers winning it all.
So who's been your MVP for QB? Because you got probably, they usually nominate like 3 guys. You probably got out of the 3 or 4 quarterbacks, 3 of them have MVP caliber seasons, and
I think it's Aaron Rodgers.
I think I've been saying, Brendan, what was it, week 7? I said Rodgers.
I thought you said Josh Allen.
Well, in my heart, it's Josh Allen, but realistically, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Actually, yeah, you might have. We'll have to go take some receipts.
I'll watch.
I hate the Packers, but I mean, he's so efficient, and he's
so consistent. Yeah. Well, you just watch the games, and he just slows the game down. It's like the Brady effect, right? He just has that effect on the game where he just controls the whole game.
Which I still have Brady coming over them in that game, because not just because I need that for my words to stand, because that's where I bet it a couple weeks ago. But I think I heard that the Bucks had a really easy time beating the Packers earlier in the season. So I think that they played once, but it's something that it's in the mind of a fan at least.
Brandon, I gotta ask you this. You keep saying you bet. Do you have money on Tom Brady or something?
No, but do you see what I mean? Like, it would be my first thing to come to fruition, if that makes sense. Not that it's like I haven't had a proper take ever. It was like a take I took way before like the playoffs even started. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna say Brady because I don't know shit. And then he kept winning, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta stick with my word. Like, I need the Brady. So even if he's gonna have to go against the MVP, Devontae Adams, right? That's his receiver, and it's just kind of like, okay, fuck it. I still have to tell you why Brady is okay, and it's hard because it doesn't make me sound convincing. But I just care about the Bills, and I just care about the fact that I called the fact that they might get there against the Bills. And Tyrus is right; it's probably going to end up being the Chiefs and the Packers. But
if it comes to
as sad as we're all, it's
over the last 11 weeks, the Bills have been the better team than the Chiefs. So. We'll see how
we're gonna find out, man.
You can't rule out Mahomes, man. If that guy doesn't have, if he's playing without the concussion, you can't rule out Mahomes.
I don't know though.
That guy can take over a game, man.
But if it comes down to a shootout, Josh Allen hasn't had the chance to show that he can do that because he's just been dominating games this year. The only close game he's got
Stephon for that long ball. It's game.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're here convincing ourselves something.
That's going to be a hell of a game now that I think about it. Like, now I know Mahomes is playing. Like, that's going to be a game. Hopefully, and this is going to be the greatest transition in podcast history, hopefully that shootout reaches the peaks that it should, unlike the Leafs and Oilers last night, which was an absolute dumpster fire of a game. Who's your hockey team? Like, what's your team?
Oh, Leafs all the way. Die hard till I die.
Okay, so now we know. Now we know who you think is going to win the cup.
Yeah.
So, like, just give me like a hockey take. I'm not even gonna just talk about hockey for me. Give me something. Very broad, but just something.
Yeah, very, very broad.
Okay, how about this? No, I got this. This is it. We're Canadian right now, and it's a huge deal, the Scotiabank North Division, and some teams won't make it. And it's not like we have American teams. It's not confusing right now. All the teams in Canada, which top, is it 5, Josh, or 6?
4.
Which top 4 make it out, and what are your top 4 Canadian teams in this year's division?
I'm going to go Leafs, Oilers. I think the Habs are going to shock some people. That's a good team.
They're the best team in the division right now.
I think Winnipeg, they score. They can score. I don't know. Winnipeg.
I feel like I don't even know. I feel like I think I put the Flames. I don't know what I did anymore, Josh. I have to go back to that episode.
I have your picks somewhere. I think I threw them out.
The Flames are an interesting team, right? They're a physical, high energy team like that. They're not fun to play against.
You know what someone said? I don't know who it was, but that's good that I don't know the name. But it probably was someone on air. They said, "How can you be a?" Oh fuck, might have been us, Josh. No, it wasn't us. Definitely wasn't us. It was too good of a take. How can you identify yourself as a physical team when your star player is one of the softest in the league, and that's Johnny Gaudreau?
That was me. I said that.
You said that shit?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I did.
When did you say that?
Like 3 episodes ago.
Man, I had a dream then. I must have had a dream that I heard it on like Tim and Sid.
That's how good it was. Sid, it's my time to shine. I'm telling you.
See, that's what I say. You're
calling do you
put the resume in?
I don't know how the fuck did you say that shit? I don't even know.
What do you mean? How I work in hockey? I make paychecks.
No, but you don't talk about the Flames. I've never heard you talk about the Flames. That's what's confusing. I feel like Kevin Bieksa said it. No, Kevin Bieksa said it. Definitely Kevin Bieksa said that shit.
Kevin Bieksa.
That is something Kevin Bieksa would say.
Yeah, but that goes to show, like, I remember there was like people made montages on all like Minnesota Wild players and all the people in the Western Conference slashing Gaudreau's hands like one full year. It was just a bunch of slashes and hacks, and people were taking liberties on him, and he wasn't going to stand up for himself. So, I mean, they got Kachuk. I don't know. You got some guys with big bodies, but a lot of no names on the bottom 6 as well.
Yeah, for sure. But again, I don't know. They play a good system over there.
Who's coming last? Who's coming last in the Canadian division? Because I think that's almost just as big of a question to Josh and I as who comes first. Because
Vancouver.
I think I might be Ottawa. I'm gonna go with Ottawa.
They've looked
good. That's where we stand on Ottawa. Is like we think that they could be that one team not to come last, but it's like who realistically would. I mean, you have to take a chance on the fact that someone's going to have a breakout season.
I think the Habs will have the breakout season. I think they have a good team, but I think the divisions is a lot closer than people think. Like,
right.
I think it's going to be a tight race down to the wire. I think you might see the Leafs at Edmonton kind of split a little bit from the group, but I think that's like fair. For those last two spots are going to be tight in my opinion. Like. Those 3 and 4 spots, it'll be down to the wire, right? Because that's all you're just playing the same teams, right? Like so, you beat the team, right? And then that team that loses now has to try and they got to catch up, right? Because it's in the same division all the time. So
it's this year is definitely more fun because every game it's practically a 4-point. It's a 4-point game, right? Like, I don't think I've ever been, and maybe it was because we had a lack of hockey for so long. Like we had the bubble playoffs, and it wasn't quite the same. And then hockey comes back, and I'm like, holy shit! Like last night, I watched Montreal Vancouver I was watching it at 1:00 in the morning. I would never do that.
You were? You told me you went to bed at fucking 10:30.
Okay, buddy, no. I told you when I say I'm going to bed, I put my phone away so that I can watch the game.
Disconnected from the world.
Yeah, exactly.
I was up watching that game. I went to a shootout and everything, and I was like, Josh, this game is so sick. Look at this shootout. It's going to extra rounds. Nah, I'm asleep.
I was watching it too. I wasn't asleep. I just put my phone away. Anyway, getting aside from my personal life, which Brandon wants to keep bringing up, but yeah, it's like
when was the last? When was the okay?
It's just every game means something. It's like you have if you have a Saturday night doubleheader, you got Leafs Habs at 7, and then you have Ottawa Calgary playing. It's like usually I wouldn't be interested in that game. I might check it out because I gotta finish my drink or whatever. But now it's like, oh shit! Like if Calgary get these 2 points, that affects the Leafs. The only time it wouldn't.
That's a good point. It never used to matter because it would be like it would be the Canadian Western team would be the Oilers, and maybe for example would be like the Wild coming in, and A would be in the Pacific Division, and C it wouldn't affect the Leafs, right?
And the only way it would affect them is the President's Trophy, and I don't think a team has been in the President's Trophy race since Vancouver in 2010. So
a Canadian team, yeah.
A Canadian team, yeah. So it's like. But not this, like every division, it's so close, and it's almost like they have 4 separate leagues building towards that Final Four, right?
For sure.
I think it creates such a big like rivalry, like for us fans watching it too. Like I think as the season goes on and grows, like you're gonna see these rivalries and these things grow and spark.
We've already
something.
Josh and I have noted. Sorry to keep interrupting, but it's just because you bring up a good point. We've already seen Austin Matthews throw cross checks and hits that we've never really seen him do before. And then it's just like, okay, when's he gonna fight? When's he gonna fight?
It's like,
honestly, he may drop the mitts.
He's going to, man. Like he's gonna. He had 6 hits last night. Like,
well, you see him. You get into those scrums too. Like after the whistle, you see Matthews in a scrum. Like what?
Yeah,
Jake
exactly.
Muzzin's on the ice. You don't see Muzzin in there.
No.
Well,
but
it's a great division this year. I love it. I absolutely love it. And
I think it's going to spark a lot more fan interest around the league, right? Like, people are always going to be tuning in now. Like, not just Saturday night. They're going to be like, every game matters, right?
Well, tonight we got Montreal, Vancouver, the rematch. It's like, I'm going to check that out.
We got to get some takes.
Such a great game last game.
Yeah, I mean, and everyone's going to be checking out the Toronto Edmonton game tomorrow because the first one was
McDavid Matthews.
Well, hopefully Matthews plays.
Well, who would have thought that would have been such a low scoring game?
Yes.
Well,
like 2 high power offenses.
So Edmonton in my opinion, Edmonton only scored 1 goal because the first one bounced off Jake Muzzin's skate, and the second one was assisted by the referee on a phantom call.
That was a phantom penalty, right?
And it's like you got
Speaking of referees, it seems like the referees are getting in the way a lot more these days.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Wow, that's something that we were mentioning over message watching hockey and I think Josh hasn't watched the intermission shows, but Kevin BX and Brian Burke, all those guys have also been mentioning that the referees need to get closely watched. Like they need to have more of official reporting on them, and I think that the NHL is looking into the fact that the referees have been calling. They called it. Kevin BX is like, I think the referees are going to look. NHL is going to look into calling ticky-tacky penalties. So it goes to show that it's being noticed, and I think the fact that if it has to do with protecting a superstar or not, I mean, we're not trying to see a whole game power play or even strength. I mean, we're trying to see a natural game that's not manipulated by a bad call. That's just here to protect a Connor McDavid or Mitch Marner.
I think it's.
Well,
I think
and you bring up the.
I just think we're seeing a result of the refs not having a preseason. I honestly think that's what it is.
Go on, Tyler.
Yeah, that could be it. You bring up Brandon, a good point, the ticky-tacky calls, right? And you look at the play last night with Jake Muzzin where I can't remember exactly who, but an Edmonton player running into him, and then Muzzin gets tied up with another guy, and the other Edmonton player falls, and you watch in slow-mo, and it really wasn't.
That was the penalty you're talking about, right, Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a penalty. It wasn't a penalty. It wasn't a penalty.
And that's one of those instances. That's one of those instances as a ref where even if it's questionable, that's and a tight game like that too. Like that's a play on. There's no clear cut penalty here. Like let's play on. Let's keep the physicality. Let's keep it like, you know what I mean. I just think like that's a play on to me. Like that was such a wishy-washy call. Like
Right.
It changed the whole outlook on the game, right?
It's like when Toronto played Ottawa and Toronto was up 4-1 or something.
Ottawa was up 3-1.
No. This was the second game. Muzzin
Right.
beheaded Stutzel, and the ref was like, "Nope, keep it going." like there's no consistency, right? So
Right. That's a huge point.
And well, where's the line, right?
exactly. And I do feel for these refs. I don't know if you guys know this. They only have 7 officiating crews in Canada because obviously they can't cross the border. So you're going to see the same officiating crews very often, right? So hopefully they can get
some of the good ones.
All right, so we'll get your take.
What?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on?
Take on what?
Somebody said, "Give me your take." I was like, "All right, I'll give it."
Okay, so I was gonna say, get me your take. Where do you think now with the refs not crossing the borders and officiating those American teams, do you think the refs do get better over time with officiating the same teams and knowing tendencies of players?
That's a good question.
I
think that the NHL can be related to the NBA, and I see the NBA and the referees and the players, sometimes they just be chatting it up after a call and they have a good relationship. I think the fact that they're miking up the referees, Wes McCauley, they're trying to do like TikToks, they're trying to be more inclusive. And I think that the NHL is trying to get this relationship where they can talk to the players, and it's a relationship where it's not yelling and arguing, because that's the kind of the narrative around hockey is that, player gets a penalty and he curses out, screams at the ref and can't take it properly. And I think that, to send the message to the young players, if you're watching on TV, you don't want to see Mitch, you don't want to see Matthews, slam their stick in the box. So I think when a referee talks to the players and you see those mic'd up videos about them talking about Christmas and they're just talking about stuff other outside of the hockey, I think that, sure, if you're just refereeing 8 teams, Tyrus brings up a great point. I think you get to know those 8 teams more in general than 32. And, whether or not you can develop a nice relationship where, like that's your buddy on the other side of the referee and you're a lease player. But I don't know if it gets that close for sure, but I'm sure it's pretty first name basis.
I think you saw that kind of in the World Juniors too. Like you always saw those videos, those pre-game puck drops, right? And the ref says whatever. They're completely non-related to hockey.
I could tell as soon as it happened, I was like, okay, like TSN's trying to act childish here, or like not TSN, like hockey's trying to dumb us down a little bit, like we're not nice. So they have to yell at the TV that we're nice. Hey, have a night. Like we're a good sport here. Like. It was kind of like, okay, relax. Like the kids are going to have a good time, I think, regardless. I think the referee was going for the attention more than they were trying to bring on to the superstars who were playing the actual game. Everything that was posted on TSN was, oh, this is what the ref said today.
Yeah, it was viral for a few weeks there. Like he stopped. Like it was every game. First thing is posted.
All right, I got 2 more questions for you. This weekend, Saturday night, McGregor Poirier. I don't know if you're a UFC guy or not, or if you'll be watching the fight. Who you got? I got
McGregor.
Yeah.
Again, at the end of the day, that's like the Mahomes effect. McGregor it's a proven track record. He can take over a fight. He's a beast, man. His mentality he's just a beast. And I think McGregor has that opportunity early in fights where he can knock someone out in 30 seconds.
Yeah. Where
I think what hurts McGregor is if the fight goes on, the fight goes deep into the rounds, that's where McGregor, I think, has a disadvantage. But I think McGregor will win.
Mm-hmm. All right. And my last question, give me, what do you want? 3 or 5? 3 or 5 are your hottest sport takes that people yell at you at a bar for.
Oh man.
Give me 3. 5's a lot.
Being a Leafs fan, I get yelled at for that. I got yelled at before the lockdown for being a Leafs fan in a bar. That always comes back to biting me.
I think the take there when you're talking about the Leafs is that we think that they're going to be first place this year.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we're taking heat for.
So,
that's not even a hot take, though. Like they're projected to finish first.
Yeah. But again, it's the Leafs, right?
Yeah, they're probably
they've
gonna
been projected. They've been.
What am I kidding? They're
They've
probably
been
gonna finish.
projected.
They're probably gonna finish 7th, miss out on the draft lottery, and just do fuck all in the off season. That's how the Leafs do it. All right, your second hot take.
They always find a way.
Yeah.
Second hot take.
Literally anything. Like, just fire it at me.
Being a Green Bay Packers fan right now.
Oh, all right. Not bad.
That doesn't drain.
Josh does not know. He just said, "Okay, that's bad."
Brendan, I'm gonna clip that one. Brendan just exploded out of his chair.
Oh fuck, Josh! He just kind of ended that take. One more take before Josh cuts it out before you finish it. Did the Blue Jays finish higher than the Astros?
Oh,
100%. I think so. I think the Blue Jays. I honestly think this is even without Springer. At the end of the day, I think this is a Blue Jays breakout year. You take Springer out of there, and I think you let these guys develop another year. You get a full healthy year of Bichette. You get another Silver Slugger year of Hernandez and Vladdy dropping all that weight, dropping 50, upwards of 60 pounds, and getting into shape now. Finally, I don't know. I think right. You surround them with a few arms, and I think this is their year. This is their breakout year. I think for sure though. I don't think the Astros will be very good at all.
Go Bills.
I was kind of upset about this pandemic. It interfered in my plans of going to an Astros Jays game and just fucking yelling at them. All right.
Bring a trash can.
Whatever. I'll smack
Put a trash can through security.
Me and Brandon will go, and I'll smack Brandon in the head if that's what it takes to get a noise going. All right, we will see you on Saturday. The Leafs play Friday night, so we'll talk about
Tyrus, thank you so much. We'd love to have you back on once the season gets going and we can see some action.
Yes, for sure.
Excuse me, I was getting there, Brandon. Stop interrupting my outros.
No. Mighty Ducks.
Thanks, Tyrus.
Goated movie.
Tyrus, don't hang up. We're just going to hit pause, and we'll talk to everybody later. Right. Go Jays, go Leafs, go Bills, go Raps. Did I cover everybody?
Fuck the Packers.
Fuck the Packers.